Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. We have a lot to talk about. Senate contests are tightening. The House is definitely going to go Trump Republican. The Senate looks like it's leaning to Trump Republican. I think the Senate will go Trump Republican. I really don't care in November when we have our live stream, we celebrate. We have a party on this channel. Eric, John, Indy, Kristen, Sir Felix, hello. But I do know that impeachment is around the corner for mashed potato brains Joe. So that's number one. Number two, unfortunately, the economy is tanking and the stock market is crashing like I said it would. Number three, because of that, like I said, the Senate contest, the polls are showing that Republican candidates, Oz, you have, Laxalt, he's up. We'll go through each one. Walker, Masters, they're all doing better than people think. Hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about a lot of things. This relates directly to the Durham probe, a conviction in about a couple of weeks, three or 4 weeks, October 11th, so 2 weeks from now. And a Republican Congress who will investigate these issues endlessly. Hit subscribe to my super chat. I cannot do this without you, ladies and gentlemen. I can't do this without you, ladies and gentlemen. To my super chat, your support is greatly, greatly appreciated. If you want to talk about the tanking economy, the Durham probe special counsel, the fact that Republicans will hold Congress, very likely the Senate as well, because it's going to get a lot worse. It's going to get a lot worse, ladies and gentlemen. The market crash that you see is going to get a lot worse in the next 30 days. Okay? So what you see right now is just the first inning, okay? We are in the first inning of a 9-inning ball game where you have a tanking economy, a stock market. We're not even getting into the fact that you could have very easily a too big to fail moment. And I think that a too big to fail moment is likely. It's likely. November 8th, 2022. We have midterms on November 8th, 2022. Okay? Nuna, hello. Indy, hello. Eric, hello. We have midterms November 8th, 2022. It is now September 30th. Okay? People aren't interested in the Durham probe. Nothing's ever gonna happen. But I told you that the economy will continue to tank, unfortunately, because Democrats have plunged this country into a stock market crash. I wrote about that in the Federalist. I told everybody this. And we looked, the Dow is now 500 points down again. Now, what's propping up really the market is that we still have $10 trillion in fiscal and economic stimulus. Eddie, hello. Kevin, hello. We still have $10 trillion that we've pumped into the economy. That is that's almost like a safety net. The fiscal and monetary stimulus is still, it's still propping up the stock market, believe it or not, and the economy. Now, the higher inflation goes, or the higher interest rates go, along with dwindling corporate profits, because corporate profits are the issue here, okay? Corporate profits will continue to decline. That is the big issue. That's the big deal. When Michael Burry talked about corporate profits declining, that's the corporate profits of these, Fortune 500 companies, Dow Jones companies. When they decide NASDAQ, you see the NASDAQ getting tanked, just tanking the past year. And the Dow is over 20% down in the year. The NASDAQ is over 30% down. The S&P will continue to plummet. You will have potentially a too big to fail moment. You'll have hedge funds that go under. We haven't seen any calamities yet. We haven't seen any calamities yet in the stock market in terms of big corporations, insurance companies, hedge funds going under like 2008. Okay? We see a housing bubble that's bursting because interest rates are going up. They're going up to make a dent on inflation, and inflation keeps going up. Core inflation keeps going up. Then you have the only reason you have inflation staying at 8 to 9% is because of interest. The only reason you have inflation at 8 to 9% and not 10, 12, 13%, although some people say it's 10, 12, 13%, is because um, oil prices are below $100. Okay? But what happens, ladies and gentlemen, when oil prices go back up above $100 and we have a shrinking economy? Now, the St. Louis Fed said GDP would be over 2%. I don't even know how that's possible. That has to be some kind of hilarious number right before the midterms, because it was at 0.3%. So what on earth? You have a geopolitical nightmare in Europe. You have a geopolitical nightmare in Europe. You have food shortages in the U.S. You have interest rates going up and a contracting economy. We've had 2 quarters of negative growth. Where is the growth coming from? Okay. Consumer sentiment is down. They say that consumer spending is strong, but it's like, yeah, well, we have an economy where people were allowed to work now. So they're like, "Oh, have you seen the unemployment rate?" And it's like, well, yeah, people are allowed to work. It took a year and a half. They shut down economic activity, but all of this is going to lead to a huge surprise. I mean, the House is a given. The Senate, with electoral politics, with the interesting way, I'm not even going to get into it. It's impossible to actually predict the Senate. It's impossible. We are in a terrible economy with a stock market crash, inflation through the roof, and a shrinking economy. You would think the Senate would go Republican. And then you have very bizarre dynamics where, for governor, Kerry Lake is doing very well in Arizona, but Blake Masters is a little bit behind Kelly. And so here, just really quickly, and this relates to the Durham probe, because people are like, "Oh, the Durham probe's going to end." It could end, but it ain't going to end if they get a conviction. If he gets a conviction, which I think he will, and there's a GOP Congress. But here, I mean, we didn't have this under Trump. We didn't have all of these calamities. We had the media melting down. They accused him of everything under the sun. They obsessed over the man. But now we actually have an economy in free fall and tactical nukes in Europe that might be utilized, God forbid. But here, Philadelphia Inquirer, the Pennsylvania Senate race is tight and Oz closes on Fetterman. Fetterman's lead over Oz shrinks in Pennsylvania Senate poll. Well, that's huge. Very huge. Okay. Pennsylvania Senate race narrows. Then you have Georgia. And I just don't get, I swear to God, I don't get how people are going to vote Democrat in the Senate, other than watching CNN and MSNBC and reading the Washington Post and New York Times and thinking you're getting objective reality. Okay, if all they do is accuse Trump of everything under the sun, he hasn't been in office in 2 years. So if you're in Georgia, I don't get, like, in Arizona and Georgia is the most bizarre Republican red states. These are like generally red states. And they lost the Senate because you had Republicans investigating Trump for 4 years based on a dossier purchased by Democrats. So it's Republicans who lost the Senate. It wasn't Trump. They say, well, Trump lost the Senate. Trump. And it's like, yeah, the Republican Party did themselves in. The Republican Party said we would rather destroy a Republican presidency because he was a little bit different, and we would rather investigate a Republican president than actually have, a functioning political party. And that's, by the way, Trump not only had to go up against Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan and Mitt Romney and John McCain and everybody else. He has to go up against all of media, all of late night, pretty much every every publication that focuses on politics, and the Democratic Party, and social media algorithms. He's like a one-man army. And so Warnock is just 0.7 up. But I don't understand how you have Kemp as governor, but Warnock in the Senate. I don't get that. What is it about? Did you like the Inflation Reduction Act? Did you like that? Because that's what a Democratic senator will vote for. They'll vote for bills and a budget and policies that do nothing to help the country. Democrats have done nothing, literally nothing to help this country the past 2 years. We have real wages down 4.4%. Real wages were up under Trump. And do you want to know what the rebuttal was with Trump? Well, the working class isn't doing that well. Real wages are only up by less than a percent. Real wages are down 4.4%. We'll get to that. I mean, do you want your paycheck to be 4.4%, to decrease 4 to 5%? I mean, people would rather have, and it's like completely like, it makes no sense. They'd rather have a Republican governor and a senator that's Democrat. Why? So you get nothing done? So you just stay in this, so the senator can ensure that Mashed Potato Brains Joe gets everything like completely backwards in the most apoplectic manner possible, as always. Well, not Joe, but everyone around him. Laxalt Cortez. Laxalt's doing very well. So you have that. You have in Nevada, Republican doing very well there, and you have a situation where the economy is only going to get worse. The economy is only going to get worse. So you can flip Nevada, you could flip Georgia. You would need Pennsylvania also, and then Arizona you could flip. Kelly narrowly leads. I don't get it. I don't get it because the Republican in Arizona, I know the Arizona and Georgia Republican parties are completely dysfunctional and inept. I mean, no offense. How on earth do you have red states? You have red states, even the Democrats are conservative. Like Cinema is more conservative probably on some issues than Rand Paul. So I don't get it. I don't get it. You have these people. It's like when I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post, and the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. Okay. The knock, like people would try to disparage me saying, oh, you're into chaos and you just want to be a contrarian. And, oh, you would rather have a Republican win than a Democrat. Well, because I wasn't voting for Democratic policies. I was voting for Bernie Sanders. Democratic policies equate to the Lincoln Project foreign policy. I didn't want that. I wanted somebody who opposed the Lincoln Project. I thought Bernie Sanders did. We have Donald Trump who does oppose interventions in the Lincoln Project and negotiated the Doha Agreement that forced Biden to bring home Americans. He didn't, I mean, it was the most haphazard manner. Biden botched the Doha Agreement, and 13 Americans should be alive today, and over 100 Afghans should be alive today. But I wanted a reversal of U.S. foreign policy. People don't care on the left. They don't care about that. I wanted a better economy for everyone. We had that with Trump. I thought Bernie Sanders would focus on that. But we wouldn't have had that with Bernie Sanders because he's a good man. He's a good person. He doesn't know much about the economy. I didn't realize that Why isn't he talking about banning fracking now? I was all about that too. Why don't you ban fracking now? See what happens to the country. I was in that world where it's like ban fracking and you know, focus on renewables, and it's like, well, we don't have the technology right now, and if you ban fracking, um, people will literally freeze in the winter, and so it's like with Trump, we didn't have these problems. We had real wages up. We had a growing economy. We didn't have a stock market crash. And if you wanted to say, oh, yeah, we did it in Trump's last year, his entire economy and the governance was commandeered by bureaucrats, experts, the highly educated, morally superior liberal Democrats everywhere, Hollywood, social media algorithms. Nobody could dissent. They could offer a dissenting opinion. And we still have that in a way. Actually, we still have. And we were wrong on everything. Trump's policies didn't cause the economic decline in the last year of his presidency. It was Democrats that gleefully tanked their economies and slowly opened up. President-elect! Yes! Yes! President-elect pressure. 609. Thank you so very, very much. Greatly, greatly appreciated. To my super chat, I cannot thank you enough. I cannot do these live streams without you, and your support is greatly appreciated. President-elect, I hope you have a great weekend, a fantastic weekend, and thank you so very, very much. We have President-elect, God forbid, tactical nukes, and not a word, President-elect, from media. Oh, we have a shrinking economy with a stock market crash. Dow Jones crashing again 500 points. Layoffs are ahead. Fed says unemployment will go up. There might be food shortages of everything from butter to beer. Oh, and in other news, tactical nukes could be used in Europe. But really the main focus is Trump. Trump's a bad person, Trump, a bad person, Trump. Democracy. Trump. So I think you know who to vote for. The Democratic Party. I mean, it's unbelievable. Ronald! BASF in Germany is shutting down on gas. Wow. Ronald Jarvis, thank you. Yes. German officials laughed at Trump. President-elect Ronald. Maria Camacho, thank you. Maria Camacho, thank you. You are amazing. Maria, you are amazing. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Maria. You are amazing, Maria. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, Maria and President-elect and Ronald, it's like they don't. Here's the thing. If somebody that I don't like gives me good advice, okay, I'm not gonna disregard like wisdom. If somebody possesses wisdom, Maria and President-elect and Ronald, and thank you everybody to my super chat. I cannot do this without you. If Trump said you're going to have you'll have a market crash, you have no idea, market crash, stock market will tumble. I'm getting better at my Trump. If Trump said to you, you'll make more money with me and less money with Joe, why would you not vote for Trump if you knew that his foreign policy was better and his economic policy was better? What did this man do to people other than they think he's mean? This is the only rebuttal I get. He insults people. He insults people. Who cares? I'll deal with the insults. Go ahead, Trump, insult the whole planet. Go ahead. But bring us a better economy, the economy we had with you, and no tactical nukes in Europe, and no recession with food shortages. Here we have, when Trump was in office, real pay data shows Trump's blue-collar boom is more of a bust for U.S. workers in 3 charts. And then you get in December 2016 to 2019, like nominal wages rose 6.7%. Okay, but after factoring in inflation, average wages barely budged. I mean, they climbing about 0.42% in that period. I mean, average wages, real wages, they were like about 1% or so. Oh, yeah? How are real wages now? Oh, 4.4% down. You lose again. Wonderful, morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrat. Lose again. God forbid. God forbid you'd have Orange Man give you more money in your pocket. You wouldn't want that, would you? 4.4%, Wall Street Journal. Inflation has outpaced wage growth. Remember when suddenly you had Reagan, the conservative economist, oh, look at the inflation rate under Trump. Look at the deficit under Trump. Oh, you don't care about deficits. You just don't like Trump. These are the same people who opposed Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld and now like Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld. They have zero value system. Zero. They want power. That's it. They want to influence politics at any cost. You want inflation, high interest rates, food shortages. It doesn't matter. Trump's worse. You want a shrinking economy, real wages down. Doesn't matter. Trump's worse. Vote for our democracy is at stake. Here you have 3.6%, but 4.4% decrease in real average weekly earnings. Here. This is the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Real wages are down 4.4%. The knock on Trump was that real wages were only up about 1% or so. Less than 1%. Sir Felix! The H.A. Goodman Lounge, great place to end my week. Craft beer and hot wings. Yes! Sir Felix. Maria, President-elect Ronald. Love it. Love it. I'm on a diet right now, so I guess I couldn't eat the craft beer and the hot wings. But my God, that's great. Can't say I love beer. I can't really say I'm really into beer. In fact, people make fun of me because like Bud Light is like fine for me, which is like people think it's like water. But I'm not really into beer, but craft beer sounds great, and hot wings, oh my God. Oh my God, but I couldn't really eat it right now. I'm on a kind of like a diet. But it's like you have a situation, ladies and gentlemen, where people would rather have a terrible economy. They would rather have a terrible economy. And Maria and Ronald, President-elect, everybody here, Sir Felix, they would rather have a terrible economy than vote for Trump. This has to be like some kind of psychological phenomenon. Okay, if it's a choice between Trump and Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and Trump would preside over a recession, invasion in Europe, and Clinton would give me more money in my pocket, I vote for Hillary Clinton. I, H.A. Goodman, would vote for Hillary Clinton if she had Trump's economic record and anti-interventionist foreign policy, which is, But I don't care about political party. Give me a good country, economy, foreign policy, not never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts. Go ahead, insult everyone. Do whatever. Insult everybody. He insults people. He insults people. They're trying to take him down, utilizing state officials and government officials against him. And it's like, all you get is he's a menace to democracy. Democracy has nothing. Okay. My friend in Australia, Paul Bartlett, calls me the algorithmist, and I am the algorithmist. So here. By the way, I have a stock market crash channel segment right before this one. So, I mean, subscribe to the Stock Market Crash and also H.A. Goodman's other channel. I'll be doing segments tomorrow and every single day on all three channels. Democracy has nothing to do with what Trump or Trump Republicans or millions of people think about anything. It doesn't matter. People can accept, not accept, believe, not believe. uh, listen to information that is inaccurate, listen to information that's accurate. You can have a free flow of ideas. You don't have to control. That's why, you have government officials, you have government leaders throughout the world. Free speech is very harmful. No, it's not. That's because you don't have there's no rebuttal to this economy stinks, or you know shutting down the economy stinks, or your policies pertaining to this are terrible. Like, I mean, I'm speaking in roundabout terms. The only way liberal politicians get their point across is through silencing and suppressing and censoring any dissent. That's why they had to go and suspend the New York Post on Twitter. That's why, excuse me. That's why they suspended the New York Post. That's why they suspended the New York Post. Can you hear me now? Let's see. Can you hear this right now? How's the sound? How's the sound, ladies and gentlemen? Talk to me. Talk to me. President-elect, can you hear me? All right. Okay. Thank you. So, Liana, hello. Stop, listen, think, hello. Astro, hello. Awesome, President-elect, awesome. So, that's why you have, and it's only gonna get worse. You have a month and a week left before midterms. Okay, you have a month and a week left, and I'm not really focusing on the Durham probe special counsel right now because we already know, like, if you watch this channel, the Durham probe is about political momentum. We already know, like, you get these political articles and other articles in the Washington Post. Oh, well, the Durham probe special counsel hasn't proved a plot against Trump. Oh, yes, it did. Oh, yes, it did. You read the indictments, and nothing within the indictment, like all the evidence, there's nobody questions that these people did all those things. The problem is you're hiding behind bureaucracy. You have people with animus and contempt towards Trump. And watch the short on this channel. I actually removed the latest short, and I'll redo it because it wasn't doing as well as the other shorts. But if you watch the short on this channel, you will see not only did Comey cover up violations of legal statutes. So James Comey basically says everything that I've been saying. Clinton did commit crimes, but no reasonable prosecutor would indict. And I want a Hillary Trump 2024. Like I've told everybody a million times over, I want a Hillary Clinton Donald Trump 2024. Okay, but you have a situation, ladies and gentlemen, where you're not going to be able to prove a widespread plot without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, it's obvious that it took place because you have bureau officials resigning because they covered up Hunter's story. You have bureau officials um, pleading guilty to falsifying records. You have bureau officials who say, we'll stop Trump. You have bureau officials. You have even Michael Horowitz, and he's on the short saying, yeah, we found we found numerous other bureau officials, FBI officials, who despise Trump. Okay, he said he found no documentary or testimonial bias. Okay, documentary or testimonial bias, that prosecutors' decisions were influenced by politics. You're never going to get documentary or testimonial bias. Okay, and then the Durham probe did prove that there was a concerted effort against Trump. But the problem is, you're especially when the Durham probe is the government is a government special counsel. It's not actually accusing the FBI of anything specific. It's actually saying that Sussman deceived the bureau, and that Danchenko, the Steele subsource, deceived the bureau and lied to the bureau. Okay, he's not looking into the animus or contempt or disdain towards Trump. But see, again, Mueller found nothing pertaining to the accusations against Trump. The accusation was that Trump worked with the Kremlin. Mueller found there was no evidence for that, and there was egg on their face. Durham already had a plea deal with a bureau attorney who deceived a FISA judge. Why would you deceive a FISA judge if not to just set up Trump? You had Andrew McCabe, who took money from Virginia Democrats. You have Peter Strzok, who said, we'll stop Trump. You have Danchenko on trial, and he's one of the the Steele dossier source who was working with the Clinton public relations executive. And then you have Sussman, who worked with James Baker to introduce a bunch of lies about Trump, and then they couldn't find that he lied to Baker, but that doesn't mean that they didn't try to set up Trump. The indictment is all about him setting up and framing Trump with a lie. Then the Bureau found that there was no evidence, but they still got traction from it. And so then like, there's such a petulant, like, they still think that the Mueller probe, they still think the Mueller probe was justified and like, discovered a whole bunch of information. People still believe that Trump worked with Russia, even though he never did. The evidence was not only insufficient, according to Mueller, there was no evidence there. Otherwise, they would have indicted Trump. The difference is that with Trump, they're desperate to find something on him. They can't find anything on him. With Clinton and Hunter, they could definitely find lots, but they don't, because it's about political power. That's the issue, ladies and gentlemen. It's about political power. Once you have a Trump Republican Congress, you will have impeachment. They will impeach Biden. They will impeach mashed potato brains in 2023. 2023 is going to be an amazing year for a number of reasons. You will have finally a year of Trump Republicans, not Mitt Romney, Paul Ryan Republicans. When you look at the Senate contests in Arizona and Georgia, and people say, oh, Trump lost those. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Republicans lost them by going after a Republican candidate, a Republican president for 4 years based on nonsense. Okay? Based on complete and utter nonsense. You go after and investigate Trump for 4 years, then you wonder why you lose close contests. And there has to be some investigation of, like, you can't have every editor in every single publication, from the Washington Post to the New York Times to the Atlantic to the New Yorker to BuzzFeed to Vice to Rolling Stone. How does every single editor in these publications immediately write the same article about Trump? It's the same article. It's a template. Even the Associated Press and Reuters write the same articles. I don't get it. I mean, it's freedom of speech. You can't tell them what to write or what to publish, but there has to be some kind of campaign finance violation. If you're actually working with Democratic operatives, or you're getting emails from Democratic politicians, or you're getting emails from Democratic operatives giving you story ideas, I mean, it's pretty obvious. If you're Jimmy Kimmel and you have producers, or if you're Stephen Colbert and you have producers, well, you already know they broke laws at the Capitol, but of course nothing happened. If you're a producer for Jimmy Kimmel and you're in contact with a Democratic congresswoman or congressman, and the staffer is giving you story ideas or jokes or topics to talk about that evening, you're not breaking any laws, but you could be breaking a campaign finance law. I mean, if you are giving a service, if you're speaking to millions upon millions of people every single night, and you're taking a gigantic dump on half the country and propping up the Democratic Party, Mr. C, exactly. It's like there has to be some kind of they're protected under the First Amendment. They can go ahead and take a gigantic dump on Trump every single night of the week. Jimmy Kimmel does, like, religiously. But there has to be some kind of campaign finance violation. You can't just simply, if I'm not saying that I know this to be true. I'm not accusing Jimmy Kimmel's producers of anything. I'm just saying, how is it that Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, and every other late night or every other editor at a publication, they all say the same thing every single night? Every single night. At a certain point, do you think maybe they're given what would be the equivalent of a script? How is it that every single day and every single night there is one story about Trump that is published and communicated throughout the media? It doesn't deviate from Trump evil, Trump bad, Trump criminal, Trump this, Trump that. I don't get it. I mean, I can't, there's no way to prove, there's no way, like, I'm just speculating. Obviously, I have no clue if any producer for Jimmy Kimmel or Stephen Colbert or any editor for the Washington Post or New York Times is in direct contact with Democratic operatives or a Democratic politician or staffers for congresspeople. But you have to ask yourself, okay, it was Democrats who allowed Stephen Colbert's team of producers to go into the Capitol. Okay. Do the staffers that gave them access to the Capitol, do they give advice on the show? And if so, is that a contribution? I mean, it's like they did the same thing to Bernie Sanders also. Here's what people don't understand. They did the same exact thing. The difference is that Bernie Sanders never fought back. Bernie Sanders never fought back because the poor man's a tool of the Democratic Party. So I don't understand how, when people say, like, oh, well, the country's so divided. The country, I don't think, is as divided as people say. Um, when you have one message that Trump is inhuman and he is the embodiment of corruption and criminality and deviant behavior, the Clintonian calculus is the following. Well, Clinton wasn't perfect. He wasn't perfect, but Republicans are worse. So the rebuttal is, well, Trump isn't perfect, but Democrats aren't perfect. Hunter isn't perfect. Hillary isn't perfect. Joe isn't perfect, but they're no Trump. But the reality is they're worse than Trump in every single way. Pony Soldier, hello. You want to talk about accusations? They have far more credible accusations against them, if you want to use the word credible. You want to talk about graft and bribery and felonies? They commit that regularly. You want to talk about a Democrat in Vegas, in Nevada, who is accused of ending someone's life? Ending a journalist's life? Ending a journalist's life and not no outrage from media. Could you imagine if a Trump Republican candidate or a Trump Republican in any part of the country, God forbid, ended the life of a journalist? Immediately social media algorithms would be influenced. Immediately. I mean, they look away from $1 to $2 billion in property damage. And yes, I support the cause of why people demonstrated 2 years ago in the summer. They focus on one day and then they say that these people were trying to take over the government. I mean, how stupid do you have to be? That day was repeated every single day that summer for $1 to $2 billion in property damage. Then there was a woman, an unarmed woman, who lost her life, who had her life taken. And you should see the comments on MSNBC. These are the same liberals who are rightfully against unarmed people losing their lives in confrontations with law enforcement. But then when it comes to conservatives or conservative unarmed person losing her life, immediately they reverse course and they go against their alleged value system. It's pretty unbelievable. It's like I'm coming to the realization that they don't care about anything but political power, economy. That's why they disown friends and family. And these are like generally good, beautiful people. They cannot stand a different opinion that could perhaps refute their own. It is a visceral reaction that they have. It enrages them. It makes them furious. Like a great many Democrats, I'm not saying you have to be, religious or, believe in anything, but a great many Democrats, and it was just fine. I love Christopher Hitchens. But great many Democrats are atheists. Their religion is politics. They worship politics. They worship James Clapper or the Washington Post or CNN or Hollywood or social media algorithms. They worship state power. Their idea or version of state authority. Their religion is despising Trump. They worship at the altar of contempt for Trump. This is what drives them spiritually. This way, they rid themselves of anyone who could offer a different viewpoint. They only believe one viewpoint. That's why you still see people with an 1800s diving helmet at the mall 2 years after you know what. I thought you were 7 times. Oh, that's right. Okay, you're in a very warped cult. Oh, okay. Yeah, and it's like these people live their mentality is, well, everyone is saying Trump is bad, but see, media is not everyone. Media is maybe the most important publications, the Washington Post, the New York Times, um, let's say the Atlantic on the left or whatever in American politics. You could say they maybe like you take like maybe 10, 12 publications that would be considered political media, okay? You only have about, at most, 30 editors who are setting the narrative or the theme or the trajectory of what people know about Trump or Biden, or you have about 30 to 40 editors who primarily are generally liberal Democrats who have one viewpoint at all times. You used to be able to read Rolling Stone, Vanity Fair, the Washington Post, and the New Yorker and get different viewpoints. You might generally have somewhat of a liberal viewpoint, but you would sometimes have a conservative viewpoint. 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, you could read The Atlantic and you could read The Nation. You could read The Nation and the Washington Post 20 plus years ago. You'd get a very different viewpoint on the Bush administration. The Nation used to be like an actual leftist publication. Now it's like the Washington Post. Okay? The Nation was like read by like ex-hippies or people who were still hippies in the late 90s and late 80s, but now the Nation or Mother Jones is the same as the New York Times and the Washington Post. The same. There is no difference. It's the same. You're going to get the same viewpoint. Biden is good. Thomas O'Connor! Thomas, thank you! Can't do this without you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you, Thomas. Greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you, sir. Have a great, great evening, Thomas. Thank you. Hope you have a fantastic weekend. Thomas O'Connor, thank you. To my super chat, I can't thank you enough. There used to be a time where you could read The Nation and Rolling Stone. I mean, Christopher Hitchens wrote for Vanity Fair. Okay? He would be viewed as an extreme Trump Republican in this day and age, even if he might not have liked Trump. He would be defending Trump here and there, or if not more than most. This world needs a Christopher Hitchens, and we don't have it. We don't have it. I mean, there are a lot of fantastic voices, but they don't have the charisma. They have the intellect, and they have the passion and energy, but they don't have the charisma. Christopher Hitchens had a special type of, and he wouldn't be a cheerleader on the left. He wouldn't be. He would be viewed as, Janie, thank you. He would be viewed as an extreme Make America Great Again. What's really extreme is poverty. Okay, poverty is up. Poverty is up. It's not down. You can't have poverty down with real wages down 4.4%. I mean, poverty, yeah. So, you don't have like every liberal YouTuber, it's the same story. And here is also, this is how you know they live in a matrix. There is not one liberal YouTuber or progressive million sub to 4 million sub YouTuber, not one, who will refuse to vote for Biden in 24. Okay? Even if they admit that Trump would probably um, um, preside over a better economy because of his policies. But they would never admit that. But see, it wouldn't be any. Let's say, for example, Bernie Sanders was cheated again. They wouldn't say, I'm not doing this. You know what? We'll wait another 4 years. We have to completely rebuild the Democratic Party. There vote blue no matter who people will vote Democrat forever. I will not vote Republican forever if Mitt Romney is the nominee. I'll say, oh, you know what? I'll just sit this one out. He's not getting my vote. Not getting my vote. I'm not going to vote for Chris Christie, Chris Crispy, or Paul Ryan, or Liz Cheney. I'm not vote red no matter who. I'm not certainly not vote blue no matter who. I like Trump because he's proven himself. He's a very good president. I don't go by political party. I wasn't born to like worship a political party. I wasn't born to worship a political party. These people were like, that's why when I said, nah, you know what? I'm not going to vote for Clinton. They're like, oh my God, oh my God. Their religion, the church is an actual political party. Their religion is Democrat. And they're like, hey, you see the Dobbs decision? It's like, well, you cheated Bernie Sanders. He would have won, actually. I'm objective. I'm giving you an objective take. Christy Green. Eric H526. Thomas O'Connor, thank you. Christy Green. I wouldn't vote for Chris Crispy. You're not going to get me, H.A. Goodman, to vote for Chris Krispy Kreme. I'm not going to do it. I don't care if he's... I'm not like... I'm conservative on the Second Amendment. I'm conservative on a lot of things. I am anti-interventionist, which would be anti-war, but anti-interventionist. And I don't like... A never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts are infinitely worse than like anything that than the effects of climate change. Infinitely worse for a number of reasons. Because counterinsurgency conflicts will decimate cities within the span of a year, or 6 months, or 5 months, or 4 months, or 3 months. You see what's taking place in Europe, and not 1 second does Biden's administration say, you know what, let's try to find a peaceful, some kind of settlement. It's complete blasphemy. In fact, you can't even talk about it. The left, we have the most militant and left, and we have the dumbest intellectuals of all time. We have the stupidest intelligentsia of all time. They're wrong about everything. The past 2 years, they were wrong. Clinton winning in a landslide, they were wrong. They were wrong about everything. And it's like, it's like you look at what's taking place, and the Democratic Party doesn't exist without all of media propping it up. It doesn't exist without all of media propping it up. It does not. If social media algorithms aren't tailored towards preventing dialogue and discussion, if you don't have social media algorithms, preventing any rebuttal, that's why, like, why do you think they go after certain, like, YouTubers. Because there's no rebuttal for what they say. There's no rebuttal, really, on the left. They don't have a rebuttal. Why do you think they go after certain voices? Because they just don't like their viewpoint? No, because they don't really have a direct rebuttal for their viewpoint. The only way to... They fall back on a coerced, fabricated consensus. Their entire lives revolve around a fabricated consensus where dissent does not exist. If you have a dissenting opinion, you are viewed as a complete crackpot, and you should never have been born. And oh, by the way, you can't feed your family anymore. That's also that they go after people economically because they can't refute their arguments. And then when Trump continues his viewpoints, they don't really have, like, they're so insecure in their own that they have to say Trump is a menace to democracy if he doesn't believe us. Dave, hello. So, I mean, you have Europe on the brink of, God forbid, annihilation. You have real wages down. You have core inflation up. You have inflation up. Dow Jones tanking. And ladies and gentlemen, it's going... Look, just look at this chart here. Look. If you look at the NASDAQ, actually, it's a lot better. So, a glimpse of what's happening. You see this? You see this? We were here with Trump. It's going to go back here. So it'll go back to probably 9,700. It'll go way back. It went way up, and it's going to go way down. And if or when there's hedge funds that go under, it's game over. So I mean, you have a situation where you look and we're going to get back down to around here. About 9,500, 9,400 NASDAQ. And we'll have layoffs, and we'll have unemployment. And then they did this to themselves. It's not about intelligence. It's about wisdom. They lack wisdom. Trump has wisdom. He has wisdom. First president to step foot in North Korea. And they called it a photo op, but he tried to negotiate a long-term deal. In any negotiation, Democrats don't know the first thing about negotiating. If they don't have absolute authority and control over a narrative, they completely crumble. They're used to, like, every single possible advantage. So it's like they're not used to actually having to work for their political viewpoint to succeed. Trump possessed wisdom. The Doha Agreement reversed U.S. foreign policy. It was never, ever going to be reversed without Trump, ladies and gentlemen. It was never, ever going to be reversed without Trump. Real wages were up under Trump. Real wages are down now. And you have all these intelligent, wonderful people. The most educated people got us into the Vietnam War. Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford, all of these people. Education doesn't mean wisdom. Intellect or intelligence IQ doesn't mean wisdom. I'd much rather possess wisdom. Now, you could say, was Trump mean? Does he say things that bother people? Yeah, he does. But at the end of the day, I mean, why would you vote for economic despair? If you vote Democrat, you're literally voting for an economic decline. We're seeing it in front. Like, I'm not making it up. This isn't my opinion. I just don't understand Pennsylvania. Like, Oz isn't the best candidate, but he's already tightening. And Fetterman's a terrible candidate. No offense to Fetterman. Poor man. God bless him. I hope he's Okay. Okay. Warnock is not better than Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker is a legend, not just about football. He's a legend in Georgia. Businessman. Um, he's just a legend. So I know. I mean, I don't even understand how Warnock is up. Herschel Walker is a legend in that state. Then you have Republicans going to flip this. People in Nevada, they're like they want a good economy. People in Vegas, I know they want a good economy. Vegas doesn't survive without a great economy or good economy. People have like money to spend and enjoy themselves. Okay, this I don't understand. Blake Masters and Kelly. I mean, how like you could say I just don't get if you're in a red state or it's like a purple state or whatever. Cinema is like the most conservative Democrats, so I don't get it. And you have senators in Arizona and Georgia as Democrat because you invested because Republicans did this to themselves. McConnell did this. They investigated Trump based on false, absurd allegations, and then they said, "Oh, it's Trump's fault." Like, no, Trump might not have played ball and did what the team wanted, but the team was investigating him for 4 years. So what do you expect? You have you have disparaged a Republican president for 4 years. Republicans stood by and actually disparaged Trump also, and then they complained that they lost the Senate. But Kelly narrowly leads Masters. You have to understand also the context here is you only have negative media media. You have only positive media support for Democrats, and that's with stubbornly high rents. Not if this was Trump, it'd be Trump's economy leading to high food prices and inflation and rents. But the media, the way they write Reuters, is something that has nothing to do with Biden at all, and absolutely nothing to do with Democrats, although they're in the House, the Senate, and the executive. Is stubbornly high rents, food prices, and boosting U.S. inflation. But it's honestly, it's a global phenomenon. It's really not a phenomenon linked to Democrats. Even though liberal politicians, uh, European politicians, and Democrats in the U.S. revere and worship any multinational organization, we won't get into it, that says, yeah, you should tank your economy. Okay, we have to, okay. So when they say it's a global phenomenon, yeah, because everyone acted in the stupidest way possible. You have a situation where you have like half the electorate who would rather have 4.4% real wages down, as opposed to, and this is how they worded things. Trump's economy is a bust if it's a bust for U.S. workers. If this is a February 28th, 2020. This is right before the sky fell in the U.S. economy. Okay, we had wages up and real wages were still up. Okay, wages were still up 0.42%. Okay, but then you didn't have inflation, so it's like you had inflation at 2%. And then they were making a big deal. It's really, if you had inflation, the real wages really haven't gone up. But the economy was functioning. It was growing. We had hundreds of thousands of new manufacturing jobs. He was renegotiating trade deals. It was a very good, it was a great economy. Real wages, household median income hit a record high. And that was without $10 trillion being pumped into the economy. Household median income hit a record high with Trump without $10 trillion pumped into the economy. The household median income went up as the economy shrunk because of the stimulus, not because of the economy under Biden. But we had a record in terms of an actual economy functioning. and a record low in poverty. He really was, Peter. He really was. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. To my super chat, I cannot thank you enough. Lisa, hello. I will be back tomorrow evening. So be here for the live stream tomorrow evening. And ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Starting tomorrow, October, I will do a lot of work on H.A. Goodman's other channel, the Stock Market Crash channel, and H.A. Goodman, this channel. Let's get to over 200,000 subs. Tell your friends about this channel if you enjoy it. Hit subscribe. And ladies and gentlemen,